Carly, and I believe that there is a rock star within all of us. Welcome to my Rockstar Guest Series. Today, I am so excited to interview Kira Jones from Cacti Wellness Collective. She's coming to us from New York City. Kira is a native of Madison, Wisconsin. She was just here a few weeks ago, and I missed her, but I'm so excited that she can join us today. Before we get started on this interview, I'd love to tell you a little bit about Kira. Kira's wellness journey began in 2015 when she was a marketing undergrad at DePaul University with a full academic schedule, an internship, and 2 part-time jobs. Working that hard caused extreme stress and anxiety, so she turned to fitness and meditation as a way to release that pent-up energy and calm her mind. In 2019, she set out to combine her business background and passion for wellness and productivity into a blog called Cacti Wellness. Flash forward to 2020, she launched Cacti Wellness Collective, an OTT platform for ambitious women who want to take care of business while taking care of themselves. After living in Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York City, Kira is passionate about bringing access to innovative and urban wellness trends and practices to the masses around the US and beyond. So welcome, Kira.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
I'm so happy that you could be here too. Oh my gosh, you're doing it. You're doing all the things right now, aren't you?
I'm trying, I'm telling myself I am. I'm working on it every day. So yeah, we're in it.
Yeah. Before we even get started, I love your tagline at the bottom of your email, taking care of business while taking care of yourself. That totally embodies everything that you were talking about in what your business is, about productivity and wellness. So I'm curious about your background and how you discovered your passion for both productivity and wellness.
Yeah, so it could go back pretty far, I would say. One thing I'll preface with is when I was younger, I was in musical theater. That was like my, extracurricular hobby. So I never played sports. I dabbled, but I never consistently played a sport. I was a super active kid, but I wasn't in some sort of workout regimen, and I wasn't in high school working out every day. And I just, I always was super active, super happy, but I didn't kind of have that outlet. And I felt when I got into college, I noticed a lot of my friends had played some sort of varsity sport or, whatever in high school, and had this really good routine and kind of baseline for taking care of their bodies. And I'd kind of struggled with, body image issues and just a lot of mental struggles going through high school and into college. And I just didn't have a real outlet for those things. And as you mentioned, when you read my little bio, it kind of all came to a head probably my sophomore or junior year of college, when I had taken on a lot of extra work. I was doing a full schedule, doing really well in school, but putting so much time and energy into it. And I just kind of was running myself into the ground and started to have a really big emotional, mental struggle, was wanting to move home, didn't really know what I was going to do. I was living in Chicago at the time, and I moved into an apartment above a Core Power Yoga, which is hot yoga for anyone that doesn't know. And one thing led to another. I did a free week, and then I got an unlimited membership, and I was going 4 or 5 times a week. So all of a sudden I went from not doing any sort of physical activity or exercise to going to Core Power 4 or 5 times a week. And I just fell in love with moving my body, the kind of mindful meditative movement of it, a lot of the yoga principles, and just having that release, having somewhere to go where I was taking care of myself, but I was also it was making me feel actually better and helping me work through a lot of different things going on in my life. And so I would say that is where the wellness spark kind of began. And then from there, I don't even really do that much yoga anymore, honestly, but it opened my eyes to all sorts of group fitness and working out and just movement, making sure that I was prioritizing moving my body day in and day out. And it also I started a meditation practice, and I just got obsessed with it, to be honest. I was obsessed with finding new ways to be as well as possible and to take care of myself and to feel good in these little bursts of time that I had. So from a wellness aspect, I think that would be it. And then for productivity, I've always been very organized. I think I learned that from my mom. She would like have me have a color-coded binder when I was in elementary school and put all my different subjects in it with tabs. And I would like plan out my day by the hour since as long back as I can remember. In middle school, I remember doing that in my planner. So I've always been very organized. And I think because I've always liked to keep my schedule so full and have so much going on, you have to have some sort of like time management skill in order to balance all of that. So that's been more innate, but it's something that I still work at. And I really just, we have one life. I want to get the most out of it. I don't want to have regrets. So I try to like pack my days very full, and the time management helps a lot with that. So kind of through all of that, I've started to bring the two together, and how can we like make time for the wellness aspect, and bring that into our lives? Because if you're only doing one or the other, there's a big gap in your life where you could either get more like productive work done or you're not feeling as well as you could. So very long-winded way, but that's kind of how I found the passions.
Well, it's interesting too, because, if you don't take care of yourself, your productivity level falls. So it's that whole self-care, self-awareness aspect that you're providing access to.
Yeah. And I've deep dived into like the numbers, and there's so many stats I could give, but for one, just like really easy example, when employers put an employee wellness program in place, they see their productivity go up by 66%. So it's like crazy how much of a difference it makes, even when people just have access to these options so that they can kind of do it on their own time,
So how did all of this stumble into, I know you said that you had started a blog in 2019, but now you're like creating an empire, so to speak. I mean, you have an app for your wellness and productivity, with like suggestions and things to do. So how did all of that come to be?
Yeah. So in 2018, 2019, I had started kind of a blog, which doesn't even really exist in the same way now, but it was all at that time, all about corporate wellness. So I was working at Equinox, which is like a luxury fitness club, and I was in sales. So I was selling memberships there. But I had like a corporate job schedule. I was going into an office and working, and, so at that point, I was really interested in like, how can people that are in this position where you don't have that much flexibility, like still incorporate wellness into their life. So that's how it all started. And then I eventually left that job, and started doing like freelance marketing actually. And so I had a lot more flexibility, and I could kind of change my schedule to fit the way that my brain worked, and make time for like a midday workout if I wanted to, and readjust other things. And so as I started to do that, I just got like even more into how can I arrange my time so that I'm like making the most out of it. And then let's see. So the blog started, I was doing like there's so many like little things. I was doing a digital magazine for a while that was like a subscription-based thing I would send out to people, and it had all different wellness tips. I would have collaborators come in and like share recipes and share workouts and share all sorts of things. And my boyfriend, he actually had an app like for 3 years. He had a completely different industry, but he had an app, and he was like, Kira, this little workbook that you're sending around like needs to be an app. This is made to be an app, and it would just be so much easier for people to access it. I think people would use it a lot more. So that kind of put it in my ear, but I was like, I have no idea how to go about making an app. Like that sounds so far from like anything I'm doing right now. And I'm not like, I'm tech savvy in the way that I'm always on my phone, but like, I wouldn't know what the first thing about starting an app. So long story short, when COVID hit, a bunch of these like streaming platforms started popping up because, for example, Core Power was taking all their workouts online, a bunch of different studios, ClassPass, all of that, everything's going online because you can't go into the studio. And so I just did some research into like who was creating these platforms. And it turns out there was like a couple of different companies that will basically white label, like put your business over the product, but they'll just make you a really quick app, and they can stand it up in like 3 months. So that's incredibly fast. And compared to like what it would cost to pay a developer, it was like very affordable. And So anyway, I mean, it was an investment, but I was like, this seems to be like the way of the future. I'm going to go ahead and just get started on this. So that all started in probably like November is when I signed that contract. February turns into an app. So it's been like a 2-year process from conception to like now what it is. But at that point, I decided, okay, how can I make this simple? I'm only going to stream like 3 types of videos. So it's workouts, meditations, and then productivity workshops, which are like all my different time management strategies and things like that, little workshops, and I'll give like a guidebook that goes with them. But that's what's on the app now. So it's subscription based, people subscribe to it, and then you're able to unlimited just access everything. We put up 6 new videos a month. So it's building. Now we have about like 65 videos on the app. So yeah, it's really growing.
That's amazing. Base the app towards the demographic of millennials.
Yeah.
How has that market grown, especially in times of COVID and like times where we can't necessarily do group classes or group activities? How has working with the millennial demographic grown?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, first of all, one of the reasons that the demographic works well for me to market to is because like, honestly, I'm marketing towards myself. Like it is my demographic. It's like female, women who are in the workplace and have a crazy schedule and want to do a lot. And like, I made that basically because I was like trying to solve a problem for myself, right? Like, how do we find, I didn't mention this, but all the videos are under 20 minutes. So like the idea is that you can do these things really quickly in any pocket of time. And so some of it's like, I go off of what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling because I know I'm like targeting myself. But also, a lot that I've learned is there was kind of this like death of hustle culture recently. Like hustle culture was this huge thing. And then there was like this new wave over the last 2 years of like, okay, self-care, wellness, self-care. Don't worry if you need to take time off. Don't worry if, it's mental health first, all of that, which I totally agree with. But I think people kind of have now pushed that a little far. And so now it's like, okay, how do we find the balance where you're still like working hard, but you're also taking care of yourself? Like we don't need to be like taking as many days off as we possibly can, but we also don't need to be like staying up all night every night getting our work done, Right. So I think that people want that because now it's like with social media, it's just become so confusing for this demographic of what am I supposed to feel good about doing? What am I supposed to feel guilty about doing? Like, how should I be spending my time? And, also with the demographic, social media just plays the biggest role in it. That's where I think most people in my kind of like age group, especially women, are getting their information and getting their inspiration. And so, I think people want something that feels accessible. They want it to be easy, like ease of use, not everyone wants to go to a studio and spend an hour and a half, getting ready for class, taking it, coming back, showering, like it's time consuming. So, the quick workouts are definitely something that I've been seeing trending. And so that is good because that's what we're doing. Another thing is kind of the mindfulness side of things seems to be things that people are getting increasingly interested in. Like when I first started meditating, none of my friends meditated. It wasn't like a common thing, especially for like women my age. But now I think people really want to at least learn, like they want to learn basics. They want to learn breath work. And when we're all at home and just went through the most stressful year cumulatively of our lives, like people need tools for that, So yeah, those are like things that I'm trying to serve is people who just don't have a lot of time and need something like kind of handed to them. Like, what do I do in this moment? And then also things that'll actually solve a problem in people's lives. Like not only help them physically, but also help them mentally. So another thing I'll say is, in terms of reaching them, like social media is the number one. Instagram is like the main way that I'd say people are just always trying to connect. However, I do think that people are getting a little fed up with Instagram, just the way that it's, I don't know if you experience this at all, but like in people in their, like, especially in their 20s, a lot of women that I follow, it's like, there's just so much comparison that it's like, it gets a little toxic, and you have to really be careful about who you let into your sphere and who you allow yourself to like consume their content. Cause you, by accident could get so triggered by something and then feel like, oh, I don't look like that, or I'm, not doing that, even though it's totally a highlight reel. So I've been seeing a lot of conversation about, I'm kind of over Instagram and all that. And so I'm curious to see where all of that goes, or like what the next iteration of it is, and how we kind of learn to strike that balance between how much time we're spending on our phone.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because a lot of what you're saying is, or a lot of what you're battling is the hustle culture and then the wellness culture, and how to balance that together. And then social media and like this fantasy world of social media, as well as like the authenticity of trying to be mindful. How do you balance that together? So it's a really interesting juxtaposition of where you need to be. So it's interesting. Speaking of hustle culture, have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Okay, so in my like immediate family, my dad's a scientist and my mom's a teacher. So there's, they both have like, they're very intelligent. They're very, they have
Positions.
yes, exactly. And they have different strengths. And I feel like I think a lot more like my mom, but like I was just brought up with that kind of like family background. And I say that because neither of them were like in business. So when I went to school for business, I didn't really know, like, I guess growing up, I didn't really know what an entrepreneur was. That's the best way for me to say it. I didn't really know what starting your own business was like. I didn't know that was an option. I think a lot of people that become entrepreneurs, like their parents were doing it, so they were brought up in that kind of like environment. So you believe that you can do that kind of thing. For me, it's like, I thought I'd go to school until I get my PhD, and like, that's the path, because that's what my parents did. And like, so then I reached this point in college where I'm like, oh, I don't think I need my PhD. Like, I think I'm just going to like, I don't know, do something in business where I don't need as much, schooling and education. And so then I started being like, I don't even really know what that looks like. And when I moved to LA for my first job after college, I met a lot of my friends were entrepreneurs. I met a lot of people that through the gym that were like members at the gym that would come during the middle of the day. And I'm like, how, do you not work? And they're like, oh no, I just like have this business. And so I have flexibility and whatever. So that's kind of when it first got put in my ears. Like I started to meet people that were doing that. And I'm like, oh, that sounds really aligned with the way that my brain works. And then I ended up freelancing for a while. So I was still had clients, but I was like on my own schedule. And now I'm like, I cannot imagine going back to work like at a corporation. I don't know if you feel that way, but I'm like, that just sounds like actually like, it's just foreign to me at this point. It would be like a really big shock, culture shock to do that again.
Right.
So I think in other words, I think I'm in the right place. Like I feel like I would rather bet on myself every single time. And so like, it's worth it to me to believe in myself. And even when things are like difficult, rather than put myself in a position where I'm like half happy,
I love that you said bet on yourself, because when I started my business, started off on my own, that was one of the things I struggled with, was how do I bet on myself?
It's hard.
It is.
Yeah. And I think it's like you never stop working on it, like you have to pump yourself up a lot because no one's there to do it for you.
So speaking of pumping yourself up and believing in yourself, how do you connect to the feeling of being a rock star? Would you even consider yourself a rock star?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
But I also think like it's hard. It is hard sometimes, especially we all know from this last year of like probably working from home for most people and just a lot of like isolation. It's hard to like find it in yourself out of nowhere to do that every day. And some days are so much easier. Some days I'm like, oh my God, I'm amazing. This is going so well. Everything's working out. And some days I'm like, what? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing this. Like there's a lot of ups and downs. So I do think I am a rock star. I'm a rock star. We all are. But I think that the best way that I pump myself up is probably like my morning routine. I meditate in the morning. I journal in the morning, I work out in the morning, and I just take it really slow. And I get up early so that I have the time to like to make it a slow morning. So even though it's not like a rah pump up, it's like those things kind of like slowly amp me up. And then by the time I have to actually interact with anyone, I'm feeling pretty good. Like I'm in a good zone because I've kind of like taken care of my side of the street ahead of time. So yeah, it's not like a super energetic response, but I feel like that's probably the truth of it.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting that like, because I saw on one of your YouTube videos that you get up at 5 a.m. and like do this like very slow process to get
Yeah.
yourself going. And again, like you are carving out time for you and what's going to work for you. So I think that's probably one of the most rock star things that someone could do.
Yeah. That's true. And I always tell people, like, figure out the time that works for you, right? Like, people are like, oh my God, you get up at 5 a.m. I could never. And I'm like, but you don't have to. It's not really the point of like the timing. It's just like, if you have that time at night, I just like fall asleep at night. So I can't take the time for myself. But if like people are a night owl, it's like, do that at night. You know, there's always somewhere where you could find a little bit of time.
Yeah. So what do you expect, or what is next for Cacti Wellness Collective? You have started doing, it looks like starting to do some collaborations with people. What's the future look like for Cacti Wellness?
Yeah. So really just expanding the content. So we do 6 new videos a month. And I want to get to a point where like 50% of that, a third to 50% of that is collaborations. So it's mostly me with the content right now. And a lot of that's just because of like, we're just starting out, budget. I'm here physically, so if I need content, I can make it. But I think like in a dream world, we would have, you know, our studio where I could have other people come in and record content, film workouts, record meditations, because there are so many people that are so amazing out there in the wellness world and also in like the business world. So I'd love to have more conversations like this on the platform too, where people can kind of hear from other entrepreneurs, their habits, their ways of doing things. I love this kind of conversation. So that's kind of a big goal over the next couple of months and the rest of 2021. And then what else? I mean, right now we're just trying to build up the community as much as possible, get as many people on the app as possible, learn from those people, learn what they like, learn what they don't like, make content that like works for them. I'm actually looking into this week some in-person events in New York over the summer. So like some outdoor workouts. And that's not something that I feel like, you know, I don't see myself touring the country doing like workout classes like that, but I think that'll be really a fun way to like meet more people in the city and get more people involved in the city and collaborate. So that's what we have coming up. That's what's on deck. But you know, then a total takeover. Then we're going to be creating corporate wellness programs and working really closely with big companies one day. So that's kind of the way that we're going, is to help as many women as possible, whether we need to reach them in their home on the app or in their workplace through some other sort of program.
It's amazing. Like, I'm so excited for you. I feel like I wonder what this conversation will look like in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, me too.
So one of the questions I ask almost everybody is, what is your Rockstar theme song?
Okay, so I'm so glad you gave me a heads up for this, because I'm not good at these like on the spot type of rapid fire questions. So I have my answer. I actually am a huge country music fan, and kind of like pop country, like top hits country, which I don't know if that's embarrassing or what, but that's the truth. So Get Me Some of That by Rhett. If you don't know it, it's like it's like a feel good song, you know, and he's like talking about this girl that's got it going on. And so it's like a nice little pump up, you know, it feels good to put it on. It makes me feel good. And it's one of those songs I could play 7 million times and like never get sick of it. So I feel like that's the true rock star song right there.
That's awesome. Do you have any wellness tips or anything that you'd want to share?
Yeah, I would say I'll share 2 things. One's a wellness tip and one's just like, I love to leave people with this. So the first tip is drink more water. If you don't know where to start for wellness, it's drinking more water. It changes everything. It changes your energy levels. It changes your digestion. It helps your sleep. It helps your skin. It helps everything. So I think like when people are like, I don't know where to start, it's like, that's a very small and easy commitment, right? Like, luckily, hopefully we all have access to clean drinking water. So like, that's something that's free. You can just start doing. And I think you'll notice like, it just feels good to take care of yourself in that way too. So I aim to drink a gallon of water a day, which is a lot, but like work your way up to it. Get a huge cup with a straw. And that is like my biggest tip, is just set a goal and try to drink that much water, at least for the first week, and then up it. There you are.
I'm following.
For a water drinker, I just knew it. So that would be my like wellness tip. And then something that I just love to leave everyone with is that people are really scared to take a leap because you don't know what's happening on the other side of that leap is unknown. But I think that like we are our own, I read this recently and I just think it's so true. We are our own parachute. And so like when you're taking a jump, kind of the whole bet on yourself thing, it's like, you are the parachute. You're going to catch yourself. You're going to be your like lifeline if you need it. But like, also just don't be afraid to like free fall for a little bit and kind of enjoy the ride while you're figuring it all out. Because, I just moved to New York. I've left a corporate job. I've done a lot of things where like, it was a jump where I just really didn't know what was going to happen. And I think if you trust yourself, you'll always figure it out, and it will turn out in the best way, in the way it was supposed to, so don't be afraid to jump. You are your own parachute.
Love that. One of my favorite quotes is but oh my darling, what if you fly?
Oh yes. That's like the best case scenario.
That's what it says.
Wow.
So it's one of those, yes, but I love also be your own parachute, because you have to rely on yourself.
Yeah.
To get you where you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Kira, where can people find you? How can they reach out or be in touch?
Yes, you can find me. If you go to my Instagram at Cacti Wellness, it is where like there's a hub in the link in my bio where you can find links to everything else. And then you can also find our app in the App Store on iPhone or Android, just Cacti Wellness Collective, and our website, cactiwellnesscollective.com, and come chat. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest. I think that you're on the precipice of doing some amazing things. And I love that you're offering so many innovative ideas to the world, productivity and wellness, and really like utilizing these two different parts of the scale and trying to balance. And, I think it's a pretty cool idea. So thank you so much.
Thank you.